I became a member of a cult. I never thought I would be one of those people. The kind that gets lured in by strange ideologies, sucked into a world where reason and reality are replaced by a web of belief. But then again, I never thought I would feel so alone either. It started innocently enough. I was in a rough patch of my life, recently out of a long-term relationship, feeling lost and directionless. Work was unsatisfying, friends were distant, and my family was either too preoccupied with their own lives or too concerned with mine. I was yearning for something more, something to fill the emptiness that gnawed at my insides. One night, after a few too many drinks and endless scrolling through social media, I stumbled across an ad. Are you looking for answers? For purpose? Join us. We offer truth. It was simple. There was no picture, just the words and a link to a website. The next morning, I didn't think much of it, but the thought lingered in my mind like a whisper I couldn't ignore. Truth. What did that even mean? I was tired of my life, tired of the uncertainty and the promise of truth. Well, I was curious. The website was vague but captivating. It spoke of ancient wisdom, enlightenment, and a higher calling. There were testimonials from people who claimed to have found their true selves, peace, and understanding by joining this group. But most striking of all was their message. You are not alone. You belong here. I signed up for a meeting, unsure of what I was getting into, but too intrigued to back out. It was a small group of people, meeting in what seemed like an old church or community hall. The first thing I noticed when I walked in was the calmness in the air. The kind of quiet that made you feel like you were stepping into a sacred space. The people were warm. They didn't judge me for my uncertainty, my hesitation. They welcomed me with open arms. A woman named Claire, who seemed to be one of the leaders, smiled at me and immediately made me feel at ease. She asked me about myself, listened intently, and shared her story of how she had once felt lost, just like me, until she found the truth. The meeting was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It was a blend of meditation, discussion, and personal reflection. We talked about our deepest fears and desires, our frustrations with the world, and the need for something greater. There were no harsh doctrines, no rigid rules, just a lot of open-ended questions designed to make us reflect on our own lives and the world around us. I left that night feeling a strange sense of peace. It wasn't that I had found all the answers, but for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel so alone. The group, the collective, as they called it, seemed to offer the connection I'd been craving. I was invited back, and I returned week after week. At first, it was about finding solace in the discussions, in the way the group embraced openness and non-judgment. The philosophy they shared was unassuming. It was about embracing the present moment, connecting with one another, and seeking personal truth. The more I attended, the more I felt like I had found my place in the world, like I had finally found a sense of belonging. But as time went on, things began to change. It started with the little things. The subtle shifts in the way people spoke about the group, the way they referred to the teachings. It wasn't just a philosophy anymore. It was an all-encompassing way of life. Slowly, the discussions during the meetings began to revolve around the need for absolute devotion to the cause. It wasn't enough to just come and talk anymore. To truly belong, you had to give more of yourself, your time, your energy. It wasn't just about truth anymore. It was about surrender. I was hesitant at first, of course. I didn't know these people enough to trust them completely, especially when they started to ask for more. At first, it was small, helping with organizing events, volunteering for various tasks. But then they began to ask for more personal sacrifices. What are you willing to give up for the truth? They asked. I remember the first time I heard that question. It seemed innocent enough, almost rhetorical. But the more I heard it, the more I began to wonder. What was I really willing to give? The group spoke of transcendence, of leaving behind the distractions of the material world. The idea of shedding the weight of my past seemed tempting, even freeing. Slowly, over weeks and months, I began to pull away from my old life. My friends outside the group faded into the background. I began to spend all my time with the others, attending meetings, helping with projects, and slowly, bit by bit, losing my sense of who I was before. The group became my world. I didn't notice when the shift happened. The first time I truly realized I was being pulled in deeper was one evening, during a special gathering. Claire, the woman who had welcomed me in, stood before us, her voice calm yet commanding. To be truly free, she said, we must give up the illusion of control. We must trust the path, and we must trust one another. The truth lies in our unity. To find the truth, we must become one. I didn't understand what she meant at first, but the words were so powerful, so convincing. They made sense in a way I hadn't expected. Claire's eyes shone with a kind of serene certainty, and the others around me seemed to be basking in that same glow. We are family, Claire continued. This is a community built on truth, built on sacrifice. We give to one another, we share, and we never take more than we are willing to give. The truth demands loyalty. It demands devotion. It demands that we step away from the distractions of the world and commit ourselves fully to the collective. And that's when I realized I had already crossed the line. At first, I thought the demands of the group were just that, demands. I would give a little more of my time, a little more of my energy. But then they asked for my money. And then they asked for something even more personal. My past, my relationships. I was told that in order to ascend, I had to sever the ties that bound me to the old world, the world that didn't understand. To truly join, to be truly one, I had to be willing to cut off everyone who wasn't part of the group. I hesitated, but the idea of truth, of belonging to something greater than myself, was so intoxicating. The allure of the collective was undeniable. What was I really leaving behind? Just a few friends, a few family members who wouldn't understand. This was my chance to be a part of something real, something pure. And so, I did it. I cut off my friends. I stopped talking to my family. I gave up my life before. But as I sat in that room, surrounded by my new family, I started to feel a deep, unsettling emptiness. There was no peace in the group, no truth. It was all a lie. The more I gave, the more they asked for. And the more I gave, the more I lost myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. It was then that I started to hear whispers of what came next, what the final step of enlightenment was. They talked of initiation, of an ultimate sacrifice. But the details were always vague, shrouded in mystery. I couldn't stay any longer. But leaving wasn't simple. The ties that bound me were not just emotional. They were psychological, spiritual, and I didn't know if I could break free. I had become a part of the cult. And once you're in, it's not easy to get out. I don't know if I'll ever truly escape. But if you're reading this, please be careful. There are places, people, and ideas out there that will promise you everything you've ever wanted and more. They'll tell you that you are special, that you belong, that the world is broken and the truth lies with them. And maybe, for a while, it will feel like it's all true. Maybe, for a while, you'll believe it. But sooner or later, you'll wake up and realize that you're no longer yourself. That the person you were is gone, replaced by someone they created. Someone you don't even recognize anymore. That's what happened to me. And it could happen to you too.